start there. Okay, what I want to start with tonight is this, the ACM stuff. When you log into the ACM, you create your account, okay? But then once you're logged into the ACM, you actually have to create a web account. That secondary account allows you to get to Pluralsight. And what I'd like to do is see, here's this ACM web account. So this name can actually be different than what your actual ACM account is, okay? And what this does is this ACM web account is what sets up the sign-on privileges to go to Pluralsight and the Pacifico, because they basically create an API that the ACM can use to be able to log in and use their stuff. So once you get the web account set up and you sign in, let me get back to where it should be. I clicked on Pluralsight. Then what I want you to do for our lab is you're simply going to search on Linux fundamentals. And there's several of them in here. We want this one, the one that simply says Linux fundamentals. And then it says includes skill assessment. That's what I want you to do. So tonight or sometime tomorrow or whatever, take the skill assessment. I don't care what your score is. Just take it, screenshot it, and upload a PDF to Canvas. And at the end of the semester, we're going to do this again. And your grade should go up. And I don't really care how much or little it goes up, as long as you learn something. You are going to learn a lot in this class, just by the nature of what we'll be doing in the classroom. They'll be learning a ton. Not necessarily everything in this class. Like when I took it and I did the skill assessment, I missed a few questions on X windows. Well, I don't cover X windows very much in this class, just a little bit to tell you what it is. But we don't get into configuration and this, that, and the other thing. It's all in the process of changing and moving to Wayland anyway, okay? All right, which is another thing. But we'll talk about X windows, okay? So that's what the assignment is that I posted just before class. It says pre-test Linux fundamentals, ACM org Pluralsight, and basically tells you to do that, okay? All right. So tonight, I've got a bunch of little things I want to show you. And one thing in particular is, how do you create a bootable USB that has your Linux distribution of choice on it? That's what one of the things we'll learn tonight. And I'll show you how to do that. Not very difficult. And I have a bunch of old pen drives laying around and you can use it. But I want you, when we get to that point, I want you to follow very, very closely. Because if you screw up the machine, you get to stay late and help me fix it. Because what we're doing is we're actually taking an image and we're rolling it to a disk, a USB disk. But if you have the wrong letter, you're going to wipe out your operating system and your machine won't boot. Oops. Then we're going to have to recover. One semester, I had a student do that, and yeah, it was a mess. I said, well, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to have to fix this. So, yeah, it took a while to get it back, but it worked. What we ended up doing is creating a DD of another machine and just copied it over, let it run overnight. It was just so much easier. Okay. Now, as far as other things, these are just references. This is a book. I'm sure you can find PDF versions of it. This particular book covers some stuff that's hard to find. It's got it's short, really short, but it shows built-in integer arithmetic. And it shows you what you can do with Bash, for example, changing from octal to binary to hex to decimal, all within the command line. And to be very honest with you, this is the only place I've ever seen it in print. Of course, I haven't looked that hard online, but you might find it in this advanced Bash thing. The here documents is the piece of magic that is just wonderful. Here documents are just great. They do all kinds of cool things, and you will know how to do those. And we'll probably get some of that tonight. So what we're going to do is log in, and for the sake of argument, I'm going to log in with this secure shell, and I'm going to log into the Jeremy lab, because you can all log into the Jeremy box now. The password is now. This particular thing runs as a progressive web app. Has anybody heard of that? It's basically, think of it as a container that runs inside the browser. It's a memory protected container that allocates RAM, and you do a very specific process. They call them PWAs, progressive web apps. And it is the way web dev is going right now. It's that's the way things are happening. It's today is 9/12. So 9/12. Now that we're past census, just initial or put an X in or whatever, pass it around. I'm going to log in 3 times. I'm going to log in next from the command line from my Unix box to that one using SSH. And I'll be logging in all with the same thing. And then the last one will be logging in to the Jeremy lab via the Jupyter notebook. Did I show you this, or is this only assembler? I don't think I showed it to you. Okay. This is part of what when you log into the Jeremy box, this is available to you. And there's a terminal here. And the way this works is https GMT20240913. Then you get that nice little GUI window that pops up. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is show you a little bit about how the web works. And since I am logged in a bunch of different times, let's see if I can move this over a little. I'll show you a little bit about X windows. Okay. Let me move this one over. When you log in through the Jupyter Hub / it's a multi-user Jupyter notebook. You can use the Jupyter notebook to do all sorts of wonderful magic. What you need to do is think of the Jupyter notebook as Excel for programmers. It supports over 40 different programming languages, and you can weave programming languages into a single notebook. You can do Python, then Julia, then R, all within the same workspace, so to speak. A little gnarly, but you can. Okay. And to see this, Google has this thing. It's called Colab research. If you just search on that, you will find the equivalent of a Jupyter notebook. Thank you. That when you log in, if you have a Gmail account, it will let you use this for free. What you're getting is a single user Jupyter notebook that has all the bells and whistles in it. So you can tinker with it and play with it, but it does not maintain state. In other words, if you've created something, you need to download your notebook and save it, okay? Unless that's changed. They may have changed that. But the Colab research is a way to look at the Jupyter notebook without having to configure anything on your PC. If you're interested, I can show you, okay? On your machine, you have a directory, and it's called public HTML. Everybody see that on when you do your LS from your home directory, you see public HTML, right? Okay. Now, that is your website that you can build for as long as I keep the machine alive, okay? Because I trash it in the summer and start all over again. I don't reinstall the operating system per se, but what I do is remove the users and then update everything to the latest patch security. That's all the Python, the kernel, and all that stuff. And I do monthly patches on security stuff all throughout the year. So my machines, as far as I know, are fairly well patched as far as security fixes. Okay. To get to your individual website, because I've got the machine set up kind of squirrely, this is port 443. And port 80 is HTTP traffic, not secured. And this is how you access your individual web page. You would type in gmkll.org. This is a tilde, and then it's your login name followed by your numbers. So whatever that is, it's your first name and whatever digits it's supposed to have. And then you put a trailing slash in there, and it will default. Oops, I forgot something. Because of the way I've set the machine up, you need a :80/ tilde. So this :80 forces it to look at the right place. Because once you log in to the HTTPS, it will always want to go there, okay? Sometimes it's easier just to open a second browser, but I'll show you how this works. So in the sake of argument, I am going to open a different browser completely. I'm going to open Chromium, and I'll type in http://jmkll.org :80 tilde GKP/. Oh, that's right. That doesn't work. I need a different user, Chuck, I think. And go back and put in :80. Notice how it went to hub. That's why I'm getting the file not found, because it's redirecting to the HTTPS side, the 443. Okay. So I need to change this to HTTP JMK.org :80 and get rid of the hub. Hit enter. Well, I know this works. It should work for you. We did the same thing in assembler and it worked. So let me know if it works for you. I think try it again. HTTP. Yeah. You should get something like that. Everybody get that? Guess what, folks? This is your website that you can now edit in your public HTML directory. And what is this default? It's called index.html. So when you run the web, index.html is the default that goes right here. You don't have to type it in. It's hard to see, I get it, HTML. So you can tell if it's a Windows server or not, because it's HTML. It's usually Linux if it's HTML. Although both servers will support either one, okay? So there's another trippy thing you can do inside the Jupyter Notebook. Is if I go in here and say, hey, let's open a new notebook and let's use Python 3 here. And notice up here it says code. Markdown. How many have heard of Markdown? You heard it Tuesday. Do you remember? Okay. Markdown is this. It's a way to write things. That's how I do my websites. I write in Markdown, run it through a script, and it generates a nice, pretty web page for me. I don't hand roll this, because if I do right-click view page source, I don't do that by hand. I could, but why? I'm not that picky. Close enough is good for me. Okay. So if you just open a browser and say, and you search for online Markdown editor, pick one. Doesn't really matter. Start writing. Let's see if there it is. Skip. This is Markdown. This is the page rendered in web. So when you write in Markdown, you're just using a notepad file, flat ASCII, nothing fancy, and you use different types of headers and footers, little marks in there to tell you what it looks like. So what I will do is very quickly show you well, let me open another terminal here. This is my phillipsd.com Linode server that I pay $5 a month for. I'm running Debian on it. Debian 11, I think. So if I want to edit something in this class, this is Markdown. That's all it is. Okay. So what I'm going to do is right here, simply put in a block for tonight's video. So I remember to put it in there. And we have 12. Okay. And then I've got a little hotkey that shows me all the white space. Markdown needs 2 spaces at the end of everything, or it's all in one line. HTML is white space agnostic, but text files, we'll talk about more about that later. But once I've modified my Markdown, I save it and I run it through a script. And if I go back to my labs here, once the script finishes running and I hit refresh, refresh. Did it not run? Let's make sure. Maybe I typed it in wrong. Maybe I should have a blank. Oh, there it is. So it got put in. That's all I did. So I'm editing a text file, running a script, and getting a new web page. It's called a static website generator. And there's a gazillion of them out there. Okay. So you can do Markdown right inside the Jupyter notebook. Okay. That's one way to publish your things. You can also, here, you can say, open this and let's go over here to the file manager. Let's go over here. I want to go up. Public HTML. Make it a little smaller. And I want double click on index HTML here. And it's telling you, do you want to trust it or not? And you say yes. And the reason it's showing up funny is because I have my theme set to dark. So if I have a black background and black text, you can't see it. So I can change my theme by just doing settings, theme, let's say Jupyter Light. There you go. Now I can see, now I can go in here and edit my HTML. Okay. And this is a very basic website. Okay. And I use the pre tag to make all that work right. We'll talk about that later.
Do you have logs? Do you have logs that track what everyone does? So if someone does something on it, it will say that this profile did that website.
Yes. Everything on these machines is logged. If you go to book.net, well, that should work. I need to fix that. But down here, see all those little red dots? That's telling me geolocation of who's accessed my website. Where is that information? It's stored on the server under the Apache web server directory for logs called access.log. So yes, all of it's tracked. And on the jeremybox.org, it has the same thing. Okay. I just haven't set up the things. Now what I want to show you is inside of our, so here's my web page. And here, well, I'm logged in. I'm logged in. And where's the, and I'm logged in. So here's my 3 different ways to log in. Watch what happens. I type in Xeyes, and I'm just going to hit enter. It says can't open display. I'm going to go over here and type in Xeyes. Can't open display. Now I'm logged in my 3rd time, which is SSH. It works. Why does it work for this one and not the other 2? That's why. Echo Dollar Display is telling you that the graphics subsystem for X Windows is installed and working. When you are using a web tool like this, you have no GUI because there's no display in order to display it. So you can't do GUI stuff through the web terminal or the Jupyter Notebook web terminal. They're basically very similar in technology. They're basically using JavaScript in some sort of machination to create a web-based terminal. So what does this mean? Well, what this means is I am running a system locally that has X Windows on it. I have a machine in the back room that also has X Windows on it. I can display an X Windows program from the server to my local machine. Okay. In Windows, when I fire up Word, where is it running? On the machine in front of you. You don't have a choice. You can use Terminal Services Client and run it basically still on the same machine. But X Windows gives you the ability to run things from another box locally. So I can do something, I don't know if I got it installed. Let's see here. LibreOffice Calc. Nope, I don't have it installed. Let's do something. How about Firefox? Nope. Wonder what I've got out there. User bin LSX. Oh, I could do that. XFCE4 terminal and hit enter. Now, what did I just do? On the Jeremy box, I'm running a terminal emulator that's written for X. I'm running it on that box, and it's displaying it here locally. Now, most of you, the idea of this, oh, that's breaking my head. This existed long before Windows did. This X Windows goes back to the early 80s, before the IBM PC started getting all fancy. Okay. So I'm actually on the Jeremy box running a terminal emulator this way, rather than me opening a terminator here and connecting to that one. Okay. So it gets a little weird to think about this stuff. But Xeyes is the quickest, easiest way I know to show you how it works. So Xeyes, you have to install it, of course, lets you know if your machine has got X Windows on it or not. Now, I have a Chromebook. And on the Chromebook, there is a flag inside Chrome that says Linux. And it says, if you click on it, it installs Debian 12 with all the X Windows stuff on your Chromebook. It does work. It's not terribly fast, but it does work. Okay. So that's a little bit about X.
What differs /user to the bin to just doing CD bin? Like
why did I go here?
Why did you have to do the CD user /bin?
Because this is where the X window run files are. I wanted to look at one to see if I could run something like Xeyes. There's other games out here, but I don't think I have them all installed. like X clipboard. We get into that one later. Oh, there we go. XAR clock. What's wrong with that clock? Yeah, there you go. Backwards, just like the one on the wall. So what did I just do there? Well, I am logged into the Jeremy box. I type in XAR clock. It runs a program there, and it puts the display here. The way to think of this is this is actually a good little pitch to explain what I'm talking about here, is if you think of Windows and all of its GUI machinations, okay? So you have the Windows kernel and you have all of its GUI stuff. It's put in one big box. You cannot separate the GUI from the Windows kernel. You can't do it. Linux, on the other hand, lets you do it like this. I use a different color. Not that anybody could see it online. But with X Windows, it's a completely separate subsystem from the kernel. When we install our Debian system, you're not going to install X Windows. You're going to install a character version only because it's faster. So we can recover and do it 5 times in one night, but because we don't have to wait that long to get a bare operating system running. And that's what we'll load on the servers. We're not going to load a bunch of X Windows stuff on the servers because we don't need it. Okay. All right. Now, X Windows has multiple layers to it. There's something called window managers. Okay. Do a quick search on Linux window managers and tell me how many you can find. Or ask ChatGPT, how many X window managers are there? See what happens. My view of ChatGPT is learn how to use it. Because I can give you an assignment where you can use ChatGPT to help you, but it won't cheat for you because you have to know what right is. Okay. I do it in my assembler class.
There's 9.
How many?
9.
9 on that website. There's actually more than that. There's quite a bit more than that. We have GNOME, we have GTK2, GTK3, we have the original X, there's a gazillion of them out there. And you can have a window manager, and then you have the display manager, and they all look different. We're using on Ubuntu something called GNOME, and it's configured very much like Windows is. It's got the same kind of quirkiness that the Windows registry has. Okay. I personally use one called OpenBox because it's really stripped down and it's very minimal. So I'm in the terminal all the time anyway, so it doesn't matter. So that is a quick overview of a little bit about X Windows and Windows managers that we can explore more as we go on. But now we want to get into some of these things here. Okay. So to start with, I want to look at password. Make sure you're on the Jeremy box. So log into the Jeremy box, and you can make sure you're there by typing in uname -A, and it will tell you exactly what machine you're on. If it says JMKLL, some number, letter C, Yosemite.cc.ca, you're on your local machine in front of you. Well, I want you on the machine in the back. Okay. And I haven't given you the password for these machines yet. Anyway, I'll do that later tonight. Okay. So once we're here, you can type in this. Now you can do this from any way you want to log in because you don't need any GUI. We're changing the password. And that is done by using the word password. And it's spelled funny. Let's make it bigger. What happens here is password is spelled P-A-S-S-W-D. And I'm sure there's some folklore in there somewhere. And again, you will not see stars. So now you can change your password to whatever you want. Once your password is changed, I cannot tell you what it is. Sort of. That's mostly the truth. There are tools in Kali Linux that will reverse engineer your password. And I will show you where the password is stored in the Linux subsystem. But standard users cannot look at this particular file. Okay, so you won't have any way of being able to display it. You'll have to just watch what I do from the screen. There's Csci password, which stores a bunch of information. And then the password itself is stored in a file called Csci shadow. And these are two questions that show up in the Linux fundamentals. Okay. All right. So it says, put in your current password, and I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to keep my password the same. So if you change your password, that's fine. Just don't forget it. All I can do is reset it to Linux Rock 231. Okay. So I am going to cheat and pop up to user. SUDO stands for super user do. This is the way the default is handled for being an administrator on Debian and Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and anything built from Debian. Red Hat and SUSE behave a little more in a traditional sense, where the root password is indeed set and indeed very different from your first user. Okay. But what this means is super user do switch user minus. My user is a super user, so I can do this and use my password to become root. Other Linux systems work like this. SU minus, this is the root password. Root passwords are not always set. There is a flag in SSD, SSH, that says root cannot log in. So you can't log in as root, period. Okay. And that's more traditional. So I'm going to use SUDO SU minus so I can show you. And every time you make a mistake, I get a security warning saying somebody's trying to log in. I see you and I know who it is. So now I'm root, and you can see my prompt change, and I type in ID. You can see that I am user ID 0. This is the main administrative user that can do anything on the box. Okay.
How do you check the reports on that?
Say what?
How do you check the reports from the root user?
How do I type the reports?
How do you check the reports?
Oh, it's in the security logs. There's a gazillion log files. I'll show you some of them tonight. I'll show you the Apache log and the Spooler log, and there's a quadrillion of them. And most of them are in journal control. It's a shortcut. Let me see what man K says. It is spelled out. Okay, so you do need to spell it out. Journal control. Well, look, there's some of the stuff that is being checked. And you can see this is like, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of things that are being logged on this system. Tons of things, okay? All right. This is what we want to look at. You might be able to do this. You might be able to look at the Etsy password. And you will notice that the Etsy password is separated by colon. And this is telling you the username and whether or not you can log in or not. So there is a user called proxy, but you can't log in as the user proxy because it says no login. But what this does is it allows you to set up a system service. Okay. List, go down, and nobody, this is an important one. Nobody is the user that is tied to the web. And we're going to experiment with that a little bit tonight. You're going to create a web page and maybe just do, well, that's what we'll do. We'll do a PDF, we'll move it to public HTML, and we'll try to display it, and it won't work because the permissions won't be right. We set the permissions right, and all of a sudden we'll see our PDF. We will do that tonight, okay? When you see the letter X, that means the password has been set, okay? And here's where the passwords are. Now this you can't do from a standard user. It's in shadow. And this is the encrypted password. Big old long thing. Let me widen it out a little bit.
So that is the hash?
That's the password. That's the hash password. There are tools that will reverse engineer that. And you can see, we happen to know that Linux rocks 231 is the default password, right? Well, just by observation, what do you notice? Yeah, that's what that one means. Yeah. So if you happen to know the user's password in the encrypted format, you can actually copy this from one user to another and use it. But you can only do that as root. Okay. You can't do that as a standard user. Okay. All right. So that's the password stuff. So if you changed your password, that's good. If you haven't, well, that's fine too. Okay. I recommend it just because it makes life that way. You don't have to worry about somebody playing with your head. In the past, I've had students do that. They had a security event and they knew enough to cause a lot of people to get upset. And I said, dude, I don't care if you do this, but don't mess up with their learning. If you have a friend and you're doing a battle back and forth, that's fine. Okay. But don't mess up somebody else's learning, or we'll figure out a way to none. Okay. But that guy was ex-military, and he is now in the security sector, making more money, knows what to do with. He's one of the speakers in the Jeremy video. If you haven't looked at the Jeremy video, look at it. It's on the home website at gmk.net. Scroll down, click on the video. It gives you the story of how we got the lab. All right. Now what we'll be doing is, I don't know if we'll get to all of these, but I do know I want to get to shell level here. Echo dollar shell level. This is important. This is called shell level. Now, what happens here is when I type in the word bash and hit enter, what just happened? I have a bash shell here, and when I run bash again, I now have another bash shell with a new chunk of memory. Okay, so if I type up arrow, I'm not going to find echo shell level because I have a completely new environment. So if I type it in again, notice how it's incremented. So if I type in bash, bash, bash a bunch of times, and then do my echo dollar shell level, it tells me I'm at the 5th level down. This is kind of important for debugging and figuring out complex bash shell scripts. We are not going to get there. We won't get even close to that. Okay. I want to show you this because in shell level 5, I'm going to set an environment variable. I'm going to call it LVL5 equals hello echo dollar LVL5 hello. If I type in the word exit once, where did it go? Yeah, it never got set because bash calling bash calling bash calling bash. I set it here, typed in exit, goes away. You know that line you use at the very bottom of your bash RC file? Export. That's what makes it work. Your path statement will stay the same for every level of shell that you've got because you use that word export. So let's get back to our primary shell, and I'll just type in exit, exit, keep on saying exit here, and going, oops, one too many. I have to log back in now. And now, if I type in export L5 equals hello, now I can say echo dollar level 5. There it is. Let's type in bash, 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 bash. If I could spell echo dollar level 5. Make sense? This environment that we're doing is set up temporarily while we log in. This environment and environment variables is how the web works. On the Apache web server, when you pass a value, you're using a get or post, and you're taking the value and you're pushing it from the browser with a key value name, and it goes to the server and it does its thing with that, and then it sends it back to your client. Okay. Now, if I completely log out and log in again, will level 5 be there? No, because it's not in the bash RC. Correct. All right. All right. So that's the shell level. And I do want to show you this command because I use it a lot. And I should take that one out. It really shouldn't be on the Jeremy box. I just copy it from one machine to next. And what is this? This is bash aliases. So I want to remove poof and that one. I don't need that one or that one. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. These are aliases. So when I type in LR, it gives me that. So I could type in LS minus 1 LF or frats, whatever, all the time, but I'm lazy and I like LR, which gives me a last file or most recent file last. I find I use that more than just about anything. And then I have two of them. I have an LR1 that basically gives me a reverse sorted order. I'll show you the difference here. LR1 gives me a single column. Okay. And then if I do LR, it gives me all that information. Okay. Sometimes I just want the very file and then I'll do something with it because I can do LR1 tail minus 1 and get the file that I just touched. Okay. So you can speed a lot of things up by thinking through how you want to do it. Okay. So bash aliases comes to you from this bash RC. Okay. In bash RC, down here at the bottom, right about here, you see if the file in home dot bash aliases exists, that's what that line is saying, then dot tilde, which means source. In other words, reread it into RAM. You do not have this one, but we will do that one. Okay. So in your bash RC, copy your bash lines. You can do that this way. You in VI type in, once you get your mouse to this line, type in 4YY, go to the bottom and hit P for paste. Okay. And then you can just go over here and change it to dot funcs. You can do CW dot funcs. A single dot is all you need though. And then dot repeats the previous command. Okay. So go ahead and do that. In your bash RC, you are copying your bash aliases and changing it to dot funcs. It's going to be functions that we call that become part of our login mechanism, just like an alias does. Okay. So in bash RC, copy, cut, and paste using, or just type it in if you haven't learned VI yet. Yep, that's the start. That's it. It's there, bash aliases. So you don't have anything else in there other than capacity. So that's fine. So go ahead and close that. And then VI dot bash RC all one word. And then scroll all the way to the bottom. Well, right here. And you go up to the first if and type in the letter 4. Now hit the number 4. And then Y1. But this key. And we got to change that to a so type this. Yeah. I for insert, put in an I. There we go. Hit escape. Numeric 4. Y1. and then CSS 4 lines. Scroll up, use your arrow key to down, and up. Right after that. Right. And type it.
Okay.
All right. Now change bash aliases to dot. If you would see as short functions,
Okay.
and then do it again for bash alias. There you go. And then save and close. And now what we're going to do is have some fun by putting some fun things in our function file. We're going to put a couple of simple things in there to start with. So what I will do mine is full of garbage. I want to make one that's not quite so messy. We'll do that one. And we'll do those two. Okay. All right. How do I do that? I'll do it this way. Okay. Now I'm going to move to another user here. Chuck is the mascot for FreeBSD and OpenBSD and so on. So what we want to put in here is something that looks like, oh, come on, don't do this to me. Yeah. That's way too much garbage. I only want the top two. And we can call this dot. And I will explain to the gnat's eyeball what all this does. Okay. These are functions that will be available to you from the command line whenever you log in. Okay. So what I'm going to show you how to do is to create a web page by using nothing but bash and how to put things on the website. But you have to be on the Jeremy box to do this. Okay. So create a new file and add these things to it. I'm assuming you know a little bit about HTML. Knowing that this is an HTML header and an HTML footer. And what this does is we can create a simple text file and put the header and footer on it and turn it into a web page. And the pre-tag is special. The pre-tag says, take my text file and display it as a text file. Otherwise, HTML will strip out every single white space and put your entire text file in one big old long gnarly line. Okay, so type that in. And if you aren't practicing VI, you need to. Now, of course, there's another way to do it. You can use a Jupyter notebook and go in there and do it that way and open a file and edit it. But then you have to make sure it's in the right directory because .funcs needs to be in your home directory. Okay, so needs to be like that, to be very technical about it. The tilde is a shortcut for home. Okay. So with our echo, the first line, doc type HTML. That's saying it's going to be an HTML page. Head is the top part. And then title is bash web. We close the title, we close the head, we open the body, and we say everything in the body is going to start with the pre-tag. In other words, flat text. And then we have W footer. And then we echo, close it. Pre, close the body, close the HTML. Everybody got that? Now, I will come back and display this, but let me show you first what it does. Now, on my machine with Chuck here, I don't have the funcs in there, do I? So it wouldn't work. So I need 4YY P CW FUNCS. CW stands for change word. Now I want to reread my bash RC to reinitialize it. And I do that. There's two ways to do that. I can type in the word source dot bash RC or dot space dot bash RC. Both are correct. The dot is an alias for source, or source is an alias, whatever. Okay. So now I have my funcs. And what are they called? W header, HDR, W footer. What has happened? When I declare these functions to do an echo, I can now call them whenever I want them. So I can create, remember that goofy web page, the calendar we did, calendar 1752, right? It's missing half of September. Well, I want to make a web page of this. How am I going to do it? That's what we're going to do next. So I will take my header. Oops. Yeah. Run that by itself. Header into a file called calendar 1752.html. And then I want to run the calendar command for 1752 and put it into the same file. And then I need to put the footer in it. Now, if I cat that file, there's my text file. Look at that. It all worked. Now, what did I do? Once we get the functions working and sourced, you should be able to type in W header and see that line. If you type in W header and it doesn't work, we've missed a step. So here's the header. There's my calendar. And then I go to the bottom. Now, what did I do here? This first one, these redirections, I can tell you that's definitely on the foundation principles thing. This is redirection. A single redirect says, if the file's there, trash it and overwrite it. If it's not there, create it. The second says, please append. Don't overwrite. So please append the following data and then append again to a complete web page. Now, let's go take a look at this web page, and I will move my calendar 17 into /public. your website that brought up that web page will only bring up a web page if it's in the public HTML directory. So when you type in this tilde username, it's going to that public HTML directory. Now, let's see if I can get it to come up on this machine over here. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's pick a browser by the toe here. I'll do this one here. That's ZZ Tux. Might have to use ZZ Tux. I don't think Chuck works. Yeah, Chuck doesn't work. Let me try that again. http jmkl.org:80 tilde Chuck, enter. And I called it cal 17 HTML. So let's see if I can get it to behave itself. I think my permissions are all screwed up for the Chuck user. ZZ Tux seemed to work, so I'll just put it over there. Yep, my permissions are all screwed up. Well, let me fix that. What are the permissions? That's the correct permissions. UMask. Read right. That's fine. Okay. That's 755. How does it work? Okay. All right. I will fix this. Move to detox. Chuck. I'm fixing bugs, and the bugs I have has to do with the UMask. Oops. Which we'll talk about later. If you get that, this is what's going to happen to you. It's not needed as you do. Then I'll get an email saying who it was trying to get in. So I have to do it from over here then. Change directory. There we go. All right. Now it should behave itself. Because what I did is basically I moved this into ZZ Tux. So it should display up here correctly using ZZ Tux as my user. :80 HTTP. Ha! Magic. There's my web page. Nice click. right click view page source. There's my web page. Look familiar? Now, what did we do? Going back. First, we looked at bash RC. And we created a new entry for what? Right? Then what? We created a file called funcs that has, let's see if I can find it in my cut buffer so I don't have to redo it. My cut buffer's all messed up. I think I overloaded my cut buffer. Okay, I'll leave that up there. What's my convention for the second line? The name of the file. So go ahead and type that in, get that going. Then once that works, you source your bash RC and hit type in W header and W footer. Lo and behold, it works. Okay, yeah. Get it? All right. Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah. Good. Go ahead and cast off. So there it is. You got the right closing. I'll type in W header. Itself. Yeah, hit enter. There's that W footer. There you go. So WFTR hidden source. Yeah. Hidden source. Save and close. And do dot space dot phone. I'll type in W footer, W header. Huh? W header. All right. Now, if you cat your bash RC, that's better. Yeah. And so it's totally saying we're good. So now it should be hit. Now you should be able to start over. So footer, yeah, if you run that, see what happens. Now cat or cow, cal 1 5. Oh, 1352. Oh, there's that. And if you scroll up, there's the top one. There's good. Yay. Now, move that into the public HTML directory. Say move in the it'll be slash public underscore. Oh. Now, if I bring it up, and what yeah, source. So we're gonna type in source. HTTP space. Yeah, but you want to make sure you have 480 in there. After the word. And it's a Daniel thing, that's good. But then you want to put in your cow. Slash cow. Magic. But how did I what? We just reached this place. Yeah, when we did the dot space, dot box, for some reason.
Are you sure?
Resource the fonts. So maybe you type something in. The other way is
Oh,
just log out.
yes.
And then that.
What did it say?
But then log out, log in again. It gives you a completely new everything. Yeah, you're resetting here. Because what we're doing is we're putting stuff into the environment, we're searching. Oh, I did a typo. So we put a bad thing in our environment. Now we're gonna try to override it. I think it's all right.
I think because we could, I was like comparing and that's what.
Yeah, so no, basically, when in doubt, just resource it. You know, that solves most of the problems. So once we get it and it's working, everybody good? Oh, okay. Yeah. So cat fun. There we go. So that's HTTP docs. Now let's look at your yeah. Now let's look at your bash RC. That looks good. Now type in the word source or dot. Either one. Source and then do space bash RC. Hit up the road. Dot bash RC. And dot F not found. All right.
Yeah.
Edit that. Down. Okay, edit. And go down. So it says F not found. Oh, that is such a oh boy. Thank you. I owe you. This is a problem that you will see in the world of bash. This is why you will get a lot of heartburn with bash. The error that you just had was this error. Look, this is serious. There's a space missing. And it does what? Kills it. You have to have a space because this open square bracket is the equivalent of the word test. Just like dot is the equivalent of source. You need, it's a keyword and it needs a space after it. Here's another fun thing in the world of bash. I don't think there's any in, yeah. Notice my equal sign. There are no spaces around equal sign in bash. Okay. So when you set an environment variable, you cannot use spaces. It's not like Python. It's, C will let it go either way. Bash has got some really dark edges to it, and these are some of them. Okay. It's really space dependent on certain areas, but other areas it doesn't care. So it's just because it's legacy code that's been around for 50 years or longer. Okay. So once you've created your page and you've moved it to public HTML, and then you bring up your page, poof, it works, right? Everybody get it to work so far? Did it solve your problem? No? Did once you saved it, once you put the space in there and save it, source it, now type in W header. WHDR. There it is. Now type in WFTR. Enter. Now what you need to do is actually create the web page by using I don't have it. So what you need to do is type in W header, and then you say one redirect cal 1752.html. HTML. Okay. It's recreating my file. Oops. There it is. So I'll do the whole thing. So I start with W header. I'm going to call it cal 1752 HTML. WHDR. There we go. And then I do cal 1752 with two redirects. Call it cal 1752. And now I put the footer in there with two redirects. Now I cat my file. There it is. So now I need to move it to my public HTML, and then I can display it by hitting refresh. There it is. Yippee skippy. So it worked. So what were my steps? So these are the lines that create the web page. Right there. This creates it. This adds to it. This adds to it. And then this displays it. Then we need to move it to public HTML. And once it's in your public HTML, you can type in the crazy imagination of a web page. And there it is. Right click view page source. There it is. All right, let's get everybody caught up to where we're all getting to the point where we create the web page and then we display it. So not, you want to call it cal.
So cal 1752.
Yeah, cal 17.
CAL,
Then type in cal space 1750.
website.
space,
Yeah.
double, cow, 722.
So we got that web page.
Footer.
So now move it to public HTML.
Double. And
So
cow
we want
17.
cow 17.
Now, enter. Now cat. Cow 17. That looks good. Now, move MD.
So we'll do
Cow 1752.
slash
Tilde, public HTML.
_HTML.
Now you should be able to see it. No, you don't need to type in public HTML. You hit slash, and now you type in cal 1752,
So now you should go to
and that should work.
so
Okay, put HTTP in the
at the
beginning.
end, type just as they cow.
Yeah, that's why it says see the there you go. Ah, magic.
1752.
Click. All right, get yours working. Oh,
Yeah, I did that.
okay, that's good.
That's kind of
Now type in dot space dot funcs. We're gonna shortcut it a little bit. Now type in W header. Now type in footer. So that works. Now let's look at your dot dash RC. It's all gone. But you're in the public HTML, it shouldn't be there anymore. So go ahead and exit out of that. Okay, yeah. Type, just, yeah, CD. Now type, just type in cat. Space. That's good. Now cat dot funcs. Oh no, what happened? Where's your dot funcs? You did. I saw it. Oh, but. So change directly to public HTML. Use tab.
First, the cow 1752
LS.
file. Then we append the actual cow to it.
You need
Then we append
LS minus LA. Well, look,
Yeah.
there it is. So move dot funcs space. What that says is move it up one direction. Now, if you type in CD and hit enter, and type in source dot dash RC, SOUR, or the period, either one works. Okay, dot dash RC. Now, if you type in W there and W, you're good to go.
Okay.
You're ready to create the page and put it in your public HTML directory. The only mistake, if you want to call it that, is you put dot funcs in your public HTML.
Okay.
Success?
Yep.
All right. We all good? Everybody happy? We won't be using the Jupyter notebook per se, but you can use it if you want. You have the freedom to use the Jupyter notebook. Right? You can use the Jupyter notebook has all the libraries for it for machine learning. So if you want to do some machine learning stuff on the Jupyter notebook, it's got the libraries.
How did you log into the Jupyter? Was that through?
That's just through the website up here. You just go to HTTPS. Yeah, just open it in tab. HTTPS. And go to GMT.org. LL. HTTPS. Yeah. It's JMKLL. See, that's the port 80. You need HTTPS. HTTPS. Log in.
Oh, just regular login.
There's the magic.
But I still need help with also with this.
Yeah. Oh, does yours work?
No, because I didn't know.
You don't need to.
Where did I go? Okay, so.
So
I got
to do
one.
this,
Yes.
then you put in cal 1752 up there after the slash. .html. Not found. Go back to your tab window and do an ls for me. See how it says up? You went to HTTPS. So now you need to get rid of the S
This.
and get rid of the hub. Or :80. And then make sure HTTP is up at the beginning because it's going to default.
S or something.
No, just like up on the board, 80 goes to HTTP.
Okay.
There you go. That. Yay!
Okay,
Miracles. Isn't it wonderful?
thank you.
All right. We're having a blast with this stuff, aren't we? Yeah, you use the same username and the same password. Oh, you don't need the @. Yeah, you just go all the way. Yes, there you go. Hit enter. And now you use the same password of whatever it is you do. And that gives you the Jupyter notebook. ROX, not match, postcard. Open a new tab. With the new. Now type in HTTPS GMT2024. No, you don't need 48. This is going on. HTTPS is going to the secure event, and now you use that the next box. There we go. Because what happens is when you in Chrome, the new versions of Chrome, when you open a new tab, it's like logging out and logging in again because it gives you a completely new segment of memory. That was one of the things Chrome brought to the table, is that every tab has its own protected memory state, because the bad guys would log in and open a tab in the background and look at all your tabs and see who's up. Because it was all shared memory. Well, now it's no longer shared memory. So each one has its own protected memory space. Called namespaces. So long discussion goes there. Now, let's have a little bit more fun. We all love this year, don't we? This 1752. So here what we're going to do now is you type in cal 1752 vertical bar LP. If you can type in cal correctly. What we've just done is we've taken our calendar output and we've put it into a directory called PDF. So we have a new directory. Well, it was created last week, I think. I think I did that in this class. Or maybe it wasn't this class. The default printer in our case is, whoops, that's an alias I haven't created yet. LP stat -D. And it says the system default is PDF. So when you print through the line printing system, it will go to your PDF directory. So if I change directory to PDF, notice I have two jobs in there. Which one's which? Well, I need an ls minus L to find the one that's current. I want the one from September 12th. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that one, standard in dash job, to cal 1752.pdf. Okay. I'm going to move that calendar file into public HTML. Now, if I change directory to public, I want you to look at something here. When you print PDF, what happened to the permissions here? It said only ZZ Tux can look at it. But when you put a file up onto the web in your public HTML, it needs to say owner, group, and everybody else has to have read privileges or it will not get rendered on the web. So if I tried to bring this up on my browser and type in cal 1752.pdf, it'll say forbidden, error 404. The permissions are not correct. So if I want it to be displayed on the web, and in my case, I do, I need chmod 664 on cal 1752 PDF. Now, if I do my L, I have the same permissions now. Yippee skippy. So what's the likelihood of this actually working when I bring up a .pdf file over here like this? .pdf. But I'm going to go through and make it work. I'm going to brute force it, put in http://80 ZZ Tux calendar 1752 PDF. Dum, da-da-dum. We have magic. So do that. Run cal 52 to your PDF using the vertical bar LP, and then change your permissions.
I just need to see the command to get permission.
Yeah, chmod 664 and then the name of the file. And then do ls minus or L. ls minus L. And now you can see the permissions. So now you can go up here and magic.
Thank you.
Help your neighbor. Okay. Now type in. Fine. Then type in move. Cal 1752 PDF space tilde / public HTML. Now type in pu stop. I hit tab. There you go. Now change directory. Now it won't work that way because you were down one level. You hit enter. It's gonna say not there. So you hit up arrow. Well, that worked too. CD dot. And I up arrow twice. Now hit enter. Undo ls. There it is. Undo ls minus L. Okay, we need to change the permissions on cal. You type in chmod 664 space. Now, bring it up in the web. Instead of HTML, type in PDF, but use the HTTP colon thing and brute force it to make it behave. And yours is it in your PDF directory? Oh, okay, let's do this. Type in Cal 1752 space. You need a space. Because we run the calendar command for, yeah, space 1752. Cal space, sorry, there we go, for the year, and it displays it. Okay, now hit up arrow, space, vertical bar, space LP. There you go. CD space, uppercase. Yep, just hit, you don't need anything else, just PDF.
Wow.
Enter. LS minus L. There it is. Now move that standard in funny looking thing to Cal 1752 PDF, just MV. Yeah, you can just do ST and not do tab.
Oh, did that put them?
Yeah, now do Cal 1752. PDF. Now, if you, now let's move the Cal 1752 space tilde slash publication. Now change directory. No, not make directory, change directory. CD public underscore HTML. Hit up arrow and put a tilde slash in front of the public key. Now do there it is. Permissions are wrong. So now we type in CHMR space 4. There should be 664. Cal 1752. See over there, we put in a .pdf instead of HTML and see what happens. See if it behaves. I figured. See if put the hub on there. So you gotta get rid of the hub and put in 180. And then get rid of the S. One of these I don't figure it. There we go. Well, the reason why this quirky error is that most web servers, when you do HTTPS, we do browsers. You put in HTTP, it's automatically go to S. So if you go to 80, it's automatically going to push you to 443, which is secure. Well, I actually have two different processes running on those ports. So we have to tell it explicitly, I want port 80, don't redirect. And that's what we have to do to make it work. HTTP colon 80. So go there. Don't go directly to jail. Everybody got it? Success? Failure? Explosions?
Just want to say hi.
Your credit.
You post the site and say hi.
Oh yeah, this is the hello thing. This is how I get you to know your name. Yeah. I have the assignment I said for hello is come in and talk to me for a minute so I can get your name and face connected. That's all that's for. And by the end of the semester, I'll know your name anyway. Oh, it's Linux rocks, just like when you log in from SSH. So uppercase L, R, O, X. Now, open a complete new browser and go to HTTP.
Yeah, that's true. And then every time we got to say I appreciate it.
No problem. Now you're logged in, right?
Thank you. Maybe they can see it here.
Sure.
So maybe it's easy.
Yeah, sit there next to me. I'm plugged in right now, right?
Oh, you changed. If you change your password, whatever your password is, you change it to, is what it should be.
Maybe I.
Okay. Let's just open Control T. Now, let's just say. That password should work here. Uh-oh. Let me know if you need a reset. Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. So permission. You need CH1. Space 664. Space. Alice. Stop. And now do your LS. So now you don't see this. Now. You got it. Yay. All right. We covered a lot of territory tonight. How many people's brains are full?
This is as far as I got.
Okay, you need to be in. Do an LS. It didn't move. So do it again. Space S and stop. Type in the letter S, now hit tab. It types faster than you did. And now type in cow. Now let's move that. Cow. No. Cow. And then space tilde slash EU tab HTML. Now change space tilde slash publish. Why did you do the tab?
You kept telling me that, and I thought of it, but you didn't tell me to choose tab key.
Use tab key
Okay.
and hit enter. LS minus L. There you go. The permissions are not correct, so we need CH mod. 6. You bet. Tab 7. There we go. Now we can bring it up in the web browser. So you need HTTP //80 and then change the HTML to PDF. Yippee skippy! All right, everybody got this? Oh, you forgot your password. That happens. You do. No, not /PDF, it's just PDF. Now, that means you haven't sent anything to the printer yet. So type in PAL 1752 vertical bar, LP. Enter. Now, refresh. All right. The PDF directory is not yet created until you actually print something, and then it puts it into your PDF directory. So what did we do tonight? We did the following. All right. Number one, let's see, I'm going to do this. We created something called .funcs, right? And where did we put that? We referenced it in bash RC, and we put this file in our home directory, right? Then we saw that we could do W header, and it creates the header. And then we did cal 1752, and we created a web page. Then we did the same thing again, except we printed it to the PDF. And then we had to move it from PDF to public HTML. And we had to change the permission so it display. So basically that's what we did tonight. Okay. It doesn't seem like a lot, but we covered a lot of little spaces. And you will find that as we go through this semester, the better you are at VI and command line navigation, the easier this class becomes. Because then you don't have to worry about the overhead of how do I do that in VI again? Okay, so I will set up the notes and do something that makes sense from here. And when I put the notes up on the website, there will be a link right here that says text notes. This is the way I like to do things on the web. It's just TXT file. I would do all my websites with just TXT files. But you would all say, God, that's ugly. You all kind of like this pretty fancy stuff here, because that's just a script that I run, but basically it's still text files. They're markdown files. But I personally, for my own use, I use just straight text files for just about everything. Okay. I keep track of all sorts of things in my text files. And I'll show you some of the cheats that I have. If you're interested, I'm going to take 5 minutes to show you this just because it's fun. You can customize your VIM-RC till the cats come home. Okay. Mine looks like this, VIM-RC. Look at all this fun stuff I got. It all means something. It's a different, the double quote is a comment. Okay. So this F2 is what shows the spaces. And then I have spell check set. Turn it off. And then I have F6 and F7 that I use to put in dates. So you can use dates like this or however you want to put in date. Makes it very easy to keep track of stuff you've been doing. And I have notes in here to help me remember stuff because VI can get pretty gnarly. You can set the mouse in VI, but there's 3 different modes and they all do something very different. So you have to experiment with them, find out what they do for you or not. But one of the things I do like is that the ability to do a column cut and paste. That's non-trivial. That's slick. Okay. And all my tabs automatically get set to 4 spaces. So this all means something. let me know if you're interested or not. There's also a bunch of stuff on their website. Start with one or two that make your life easier. Okay. But that's them. Okay. All right. So I will put up the notes for tonight of what we've done in class. I use several accounts, so I'll have to parse my history accordingly. So ZZ Tuck seems to be the user that has most of everything we need. So I want to go from here. This is creating it. So we did that. We moved that. We did this. We moved it. Yeah, that's most of them. And then I'll put the source for the .funcs out there and how we changed bash in C. Okay. And I'm going to put a single quote on this. That makes sense, right? So that'll be in the notes, and then all the little steps that we did to create them. So I'll go through. So let's do this. I will copy .bash history to J. Anything J or junk or JJ or JJJ is a junk file that I create for temporary use. So if you see a J file laying around, there's probably nothing in it. If there is, feel free to delete it. Okay. So now I'm going to edit this JJ file, and oh yeah, we did do the shell level stuff. Okay, we did that. Don't need this one. Oh, I need to log out, log in again. So we did shell level. And we did the echo dollar display. And we talked a little bit about XIs. X works. Then we did Cal 1752. We did. And then, oops, we need R there. And right here, let's read in the file .funcs. Read. Bang read. Oops. Read. There we go. There's that. Oops. And we did that. here we did Cal. Ran it to the printer, and then we moved whatever it was in the PDF file. Standard something. Standard STDIN or whatever. Then we move this to and then to display everything, we used HTTP:// whatever it happened to be.
Everything is closed, or are you gonna go?
You don't need my permission. You can leave whenever you want. Okay, I think that's what we covered. That look about right?
Everything is closed.
All right, take it easy. All right.
I have some questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's just regarding like a programming language because I use Lua a lot. What in general is Lua used for?
What?
Lua?
Lua?
Yeah, Lua. Oh,
Lua.
Yeah.
Oh,
What is
what
it
is
like-
Lua used for?
Like generally.
Lua is a tool that's used in a lot of games
Yeah.
for extending a gameplay or characters or whatever. Lua is also very fast. It works like a scripting language like either Perl or Python. It's designed to do stuff in the small, and it works with SQLite and tables really well. So if you have stuff that uses a lot of SQLite databases, Lua would be a good choice.
Yeah, because I know I was learning SQL a little bit, and I've been using a lot of Lua because I do like game development a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I was just generally like, because I still don't know like what I want to go into.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah, I
there's
get
like
that.
software engineering, but there's like data analyst or data science, and
Is it there? It's all
there's
over
just
the
so
map.
much. And I'm still not set because like I like game development, but I want it more as a hobby.
Yeah,
And then
it's the worst job in the industry.
yeah, I heard they're really underpaid and overworked too.
Yeah, it's not a good way to get started.
Yeah. 'Cause,
Just remember, one person's crappy code is another person's full-time job. And that happens in gaming a lot.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I deal with it all the time on my own.
Yeah.
Like I mess up one recursive function, the whole thing just dies.
Yeah. Yeah. But Lua it's got its place. It doesn't hurt to learn it. It's easy to read.
Yeah.
But most of the data science jobs, the data analytics, your data engineering, it's all going to be in Python. Python is,
Yeah, I
you
know.
can't go wrong with Python.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're really good with Python, moving to Lua is easy.
Yeah, like my Lua is probably better than my Python just because I use it so much.
Yeah, that's
But
yeah.
my thing is like if I were to go more into like data science or like data analytics, would I have the opportunity to use Lua with it or
Oh, sure. Once you're in the job, you can kind of do what you want, as long as you get
or
the
is
job
just Python
done.
like better? Like just overall?
That's a big squishy question. Sometimes you're forced to use a tool the boss gives you, but oftentimes when he's not looking, he doesn't know any different. Because all I would say in my 30 some odd years, even here in the district, even teaching included, nobody knows the complexity that I deal with. In all my years of working, I had one boss that actually understood the job I did. One. So when you get sufficiently technical, nobody's going to really know what you're doing anyway, and it's all black magic to them. And you show them a Jupyter notebook with all the right answers in it, they're not going to care if it's in Lua or or Julia or whatever. They're going to want to see the right
I was still
answers.
trying to because I understand there's a vast difference between data analyst and data science, but what is the huge like difference between them?
The difference between data science and data analytics. Data analytics takes the data from websites and log
Like web
files,
scraping?
kind of, and they try to find trends. Data science looks at the data and then tries to figure out the algorithm to get the user to click on some link. So there's a lot of overlap. There's a big overlap between the two. And you do need to read the job descriptions, because one data science job is really a data analytics job, and vice versa.
And then because I don't know, I'm just so confused on like what I do.
What do you like to do?
I like to do a bit of everything. That's the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like
DevOps. You can't go wrong with DevOps. Talk to this guy. You're never bored. You're always doing something different. And that's, I was sysadmin, but in my day, they didn't call them DevOps, but it's basically what DevOps is today. DevOps has a slant that you do a lot with the cloud. You know, what I do here, a lot of the system admin stuff I do is still considered old school sysadmin, but I'm using DevOps tools, so it automates everything for me. So, yeah.
all right, well, I gotta head out.
No
Thank you for your
problem.
time.
You bet. Next week we'll have some more fun.
All right.
Hi, I haven't introduced myself yet, but I'm April.
April.
Yeah, I emailed you though about a test that we had a couple weeks
The
ago.
VI test,
The VI test.
just take it on the web and do it. You can get to
I
it.
did. That's the thing, but I still got an F.
Yeah, of course. I haven't graded them yet.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah,
just checking.
this quiz, what it's doing is it's actually going to my email.
That's what I thought, because it has our email and then it's
Right.
like from your website too. Which
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. But it was due like at 11:59, and it
Oh,
said that we were gonna do it during the class. So when we didn't, I was like, oh, we're not doing it. And I was checking like at 12:12, and it was like
When it
was
comes to
due.
stuff like that, I'm very forgiving.
Okay.
Don't worry.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
You have a good night.
You too.
I guess kind of like that question, but how are we getting graded?
I haven't decided
Okay.
yet. But basically the way the grade is going to work, the
Mhm.
bulk of the grade is going to be the final project
Mhm.
where we build our VM and automate it.
Okay.
So starting next week,
Mhm.
we'll get into the idea of, because I didn't get to DD tonight.
Mhm.
Next week we'll do KVM and we'll build a machine.
Okay.
And then that's,
So
so all the steps that we do next week, you're going to want to start keeping track of what we have done, because at the end of the semester, we're going to do it all over again.
see. Okay.
And that's your final project,
So it's creating a VM.
basically.
Okay.
That's, you know, for some people that's drop dead simple, but for other people, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Never done an operating system install.
Mhm.
You know, well, there's an opportunity
Mhm.
to install and not destroy anything.
Right. Okay. And then I'm Daniel, by the way. You said to
Yes,
introduce.
I
Okay.
remember. Daniel.
And
Yes.
so my last question was, I think on your website or on the Canvas thing, it said like all the materials available, feel free to go ahead and complete everything or something like that. right?
Yeah, if you want to, but that was for test out, and I'm not using test out.
I see.
So
see.
it-
Okay.
it might-
so it's
It might still be in there,
I see.
but I don't have all the work laid out for this class yet.
Mhm.
Last year when I did this,
It was test out.
it was test out was
Mhm.
part of it, but the past 4 or 5 years I've been using test out.
Mhm.
Nobody has tried for the Linux Plus.
Okay. Is that
That just means there's just too much data to absorb in 16 weeks.
right? So
It's
you
just
thought it was
im-
ineffective?
Yeah, it's just, and when students have never installed an operating system and they've never done any scripting, they've never done anything like what we've done tonight.
It's just
It's
like
just too
in
much.
one ear out the other kind of
Yeah,
thing,
it's
people.
just too much data. And so I'm scaling the class back a little bit, but if you get through the Linux foundations, you'll know enough.
Okay.
And then building a KVM, that's gonna be helpful.
Right.
So you'll have an idea of
Of
what
what's to
some of
come.
this stuff is. And
That's
then if
awesome.
you want to go into test out,
I see.
Pluralsight
Okay.
and all those places.
Awesome. You've been waiting forever.
you're
No
fine.
worries, no
All right.
worries. All right,
Thank you
take
very much.
care.
Got a lot of junk to cover with you.
Oh, no worries. Fire away.
Okay, well, first, I don't know why it won't let me get the ACM thing.
Okay, now, are you logged in?
Yeah, so on that tab, it's the one you were on.
And there's the Learning Center.
Right.
And the Learning Center gives you, oh, there it is right there.
Yeah, so then you click that, it goes to it.
And then put in your, whatever you used, yeah. Okay. And
Oh,
then,
really?
okay, now you have to recreate your account. So now you create an account on the ACM.
Okay. Dang,
Yeah,
Okay,
so
cool.
click on the privacy policy
Alright.
because they create this interlocking agreement.
I think I was clicking the wrong button.
Yeah, that should work.
Cool.
Is that, if not, call them. They're very helpful.
Okay.
Or send them an email.
Okay.
They,
cool.
because they did explicitly say,
Nice.
there you go.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
magic.
man, I don't know why I
It's got the
struggled with
stressed
that.
indicator. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Well,
Get
good.
That thing done. All right. And then for the honors thing, I
Yeah.
just got out of a workshop with the contract. Not sure
Okay.
If you're still interested in it or not.
Sure, whatever. What do you want to do? What's
That's what I
your,
was going to talk to you.
okay.
Yeah.
In
um,
your case, since you're in the IT department doing this stuff, I would love to see you build an entire domain
entire-
inside the KVM.
Okay. Yeah.
Where you're taking what we do
Uh-huh.
with one Debian 12 machine and you create a primary domain controller, secondary domain controller, an email server, or whatever you want to do.
Wow.
And you can do as much as you've got RAM on your machine.
32 gigs.
And that would be a whole lot of fun because actually getting it all to work like that inside KVM, and then you'll get to learn about the networking stack inside KVM because you'll have to talk to the networking guys to find out if you with your login are allowed to have more than one IP per Mac. They may have to specifically open it up for you. They did it for me on my host machine in my office.
Mhm.
They allowed me to have 10 IPs tied to my MAC address, but it was a manual thing
yeah,
they
yeah.
had to do.
Actually, have the command to do it.
Yeah, and it's like you need to let them know
Uh,
that you're going to be doing this. But you can actually install a router that uses one IP
Mhm.
and then put your entire domain inside its own network.
that would be really cool.
And then you're just building an entire network with everything you need.
Uh,
It's just you're not pushing physical cables around.
right. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got KVM on, but I got a dual boot going this weekend.
Okay.
I think I got KVM on it working. It was a headache.
Okay. Let's see if I can.
I haven't actually got a virtual machine. installed
Yep,
yet.
we're gonna do that next week. So let me see.
Let's see.
Oops. Dropbox. Park. That's that. That's not what we need. We want. Yeah, these are the tools you'll need.
Yeah, I think I got them all.
And then that's the GUI manager.
Yeah.
And then that needs to be done.
I don't remember. I should have wrote it down.
Yeah, that you want to look at your
I was
history.
gonna say I want some of the history.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
User mod. So you did do that. Good.
Yeah.
So you did add it. So when you bring up, so now if you just type in vert manager. Minus sign manager. And hit enter.
Oh,
And now you click on file,
yeah, I don't have any.
new virtual machine. And then you go find your ISO
Cool.
and you're
Yeah.
ready to rock and roll.
All right, that's easy.
Yeah, we'll be using the GUI like this, but you can also do it like this. You can actually,
Yeah, I was looking
the
at
command
that.
line,
Yeah.
that's a little gnarly.
Yeah,
It's a little
pretty
more
fun.
than I want to force people to do. I use it, but
Uh,
in the KVM, this VIRSH has got so much cool stuff in it. You can spend several weeks VIRSH
yeah,
as in
RSH.
virtual shell and then type in help.
Yep, I got that one too.
And everything you do from the GUI can be done from the command line. I mean, everything. And within this world, you have the ability to do pseudo virtualization of a network. So you can do software defined networking kind of inside of KVM.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in trying it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
But yeah, when you do your contract, just write it up and say, okay, I'm going to create a complete Windows domain inside the KVM,
Okay.
and I'll be using the following machines.
Mhm.
And I don't know how much RAM you have, but you don't need a lot, like setting up the Windows deployment server.
Mhm.
That would be really good for you to figure out how to do that, because I was talking to the Lucas and Brandon briefly today. I just went by and introduced myself because I was on West Campus and I was talking to Lucas. And he didn't know anything about the lab, so I gave him the whole story about Jeremy Lab.
Okay.
And one of the things I'm going to be pushing is how to automate stuff,
Uh-huh.
how to do automation like I do in this lab for all of campus, because he did all that stuff in San Jose State. They had everything automated to do once a month security updates. They could, hey, I need a lab that does this. There you go. So, and it's all done with Ansible.
Yes, yeah, you mentioned that before. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I use here is Ansible.
yeah.
So, yeah, so use Ansible.
Yeah, I got that job.
Yeah, use Ansible to create stuff and update it.
Okay.
The Windows deployment server, I don't know how that works. All I know it's kind of slow in the KVM,
Okay.
but there's just so many fun options that you can play with.
Yeah.
Because once you start building your little world, you're going, oh, I need this, I need that. The only thing you're going to run into is, oh darn, I need a bigger machine.
Sure. Yeah.
So when you run nproc, type in exit, type in nproc, NPROC, the letter N.
PRS.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 20 core, that's great. Type in free space -H. Yeah. So you have 32 gig. You got plenty.
Yeah. that's a good
Yeah,
computer.
and you can allocate 1 or 2 cores for each one of your machines.
Mhm.
You can get, yeah, you're gonna have some fun.
Oh yeah. So I got this thing.
Yeah, and you can reuse this project if you want to take the final projects class.
the final projects.
Yeah, I don't know if you're working for a degree or not, or
Not
transfer.
really.
You're just taking the class, that's fine.
I'm just here for fun.
That's fun, that's great. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you do decide to get the quote, non-transferable turnable AS degree, the final projects class, you have to do a final project. And this is oftentimes, I've had several students attempt this.
Okay.
Last year, because it's only taught in the spring,
Uh-huh.
only one group actually got it to work. But the guy who got it to work works full-time as a guard in one of the prisons, and is he wants to get into the IT world over there. So he's put the time in to get the primary domain controller, Windows deployment server, push a button, run Windows 7 to turn it on and have it load and install according to the default. Got it all working. Not only that, he turned around and did it all in VMware.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was a busy boy. I was really proud of that project. And I get, dude, if you ever need a letter of recommendation, let me know.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds
But
cool.
I don't think he can leave being a guard, because as a guard, you get paid pretty well. And moving into IT would be probably a big drop in pay. And he's got a family, so I'm pretty sure he can't do that. So
It's tough.
but you never know how the chips fall sometimes. So,
Sure.
but anyway, you'll have some fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's one more thing about the honors contract.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it has to be something to give back to the community. So I was kind of wondering if
Oh,
something on
that's easy.
Yeah.
Document everything and put it on GitHub pages.
Okay. Sure.
Give it back to the community by giving the instructions on how to do this massive monster.
Okay. Cool. Easy enough.
That's the easy way to do it.
All
Just
right.
document it.
Cool. All right.
That's the pay it forward issue.
Sure.
I had many years ago, I had the students do a bunch of stuff on the super domain fortress, freeshell.org.
Mhm.
And he called his machine Doggy for whatever reason. But he did a great job. But I had students find his work years later. Talk about paying it forward.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Simple
And it's
enough.
because he documented it really, really well.
Okay. I can
So,
do that. Cool. Yeah. See if that works for them.
all right.
All right. Cool.
Have some fun.
Oh, yes.
Blow something up.
Hopefully not.
And we'll be starting on down the road of virtual machines next week.
All right.
But we are only going to cover the very top half of things
Uh-huh.
using the Vert Manager, and then we'll be using the pre-seed file for Debian,
Okay.
which is, the way you automate things in Debian. Ubuntu has their own way, Red Hat has their own way. They all have their own way of doing it, but I'm using the Debian because you don't have to get stuck with a particular tool. The pre-seed still works on Ubuntu. It's just that their tools are more elegant. The same with Red Hat. Their tools are more elegant. This is more primitive, but it works, and it explains how all this automation works. So, and then, on your machine, when you build this stuff up, look at Ansible and then how to create the playbooks.
Oh, playbooks, huh?
The playbooks is how you do, because I think they run a pretty large Ansible installation here. I think. I know they use Puppet and Chef and SaltStack, but I'm not sure which one is bigger or smaller comparatively. But I think they use a smattering of technologies.
Okay.
I personally like Ansible because you don't have to install a client. But that makes it difficult to do hard bare metal rebuild. So if you're using Puppet or Chef, you can actually do boot from this and do a pixie boot and rebuild my machine,
Okay.
which is kind of really cool.
That is really, yeah, I'd say so.
That would be really cool to see in a virtual arena. Here, we're gonna build up this playbook off that. And I'm pretty sure Ansible supports that pixie rebuild. I just don't know how to do it myself. So I would love to have you teach me.
All right. Pixie rebuild Ansible. I'll look it up. All right, cool. All right, well, thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great evening.
Yeah, you too. Mess around with some stuff.
You bet.